Alright guys, Scrappy here again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far with new details emerging on the brand new Call of Duty game coming later on this year. XDefiant launched a couple of days ago now. Lots of reaction from many of the COD Pro players in the community, certainly from Dashy, saying the movement is clunky, the game is pretty horrible in many ways. What does Aches think on the matter, but what pro players, or at least former pro players, may go to the XDefiant Pro League if that becomes a thing in the near future? Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. This is the classic tweet from Attach and it's barely even here into May. Well, I guess we're kind of near the end of May now, but you know what I mean. They've done some sort of reveal on the new COD, and therefore Attach has tweeted, it's the best game of all time, or at least it has the potential to be the best game of all time. This was some of the reveal they did yesterday here, so, you know, just did this cool little teaser video, really. Thought this was interesting at the end with the whole Mount Rushmore stuff. Look, it's a Black Ops game. I'm sure it's going to be pretty good. What I've heard, the game is very refined, very complete. If it's been designed well from the ground up, which it probably has, because let's be real, Treyarch have had years to work on this game now. The last Treyarch game we had was Black Ops Cold War. That game came out in 2020, right? Which is absurd to think about. Since then, it's been a bit of a mess. Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer, Infinity Ward, whatever. And, well, here we are with another Treyarch game. And it's going to be Black Ops 6, it seems, right? Because, well, they could have gone Black Ops 5 and pretended Cold War doesn't exist, but I guess Cold War's Black Ops 5, and now this is going to be Black Ops 6. They're not going to call it like Black Ops Gulf War or whatever, despite the rumours that that was going to be a thing a little while ago. And yeah, obviously Beans is getting on the bandwagon as well. Be the best COD ever released. We shall see. But also it's one of those things, if you're a pro player thinking about maybe calling it a day, is now the best time to do so because, well, Black Ops 6 is probably going to be a better game than we've played for the last couple of years. You would at least think so in theory. And the year after Black Ops 6 is meant to be Black Ops, I don't know, 7 or something. Effectively a Black Ops 2.5, which is set somewhere between Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3, apparently. I don't know if that's true, but it's just rumours that it's going to be something like that for effectively 2 Treyarch years in a row, which I ain't complaining about. However, these are some Lion Man cards. It wasn't a pretty stage in some respects for the Los Angeles Thieves, although of course there were some positives to draw. Their hardpoint record was okay, their search and destroy record was particularly good, certainly in their game 5s they won a lot of, but it's this control record that has been causing problems for them, right? Because in that game mode, they just can't seem to close out series. They'll go up 2-0 sometimes. They won't close it out in 3. Interesting as well to me that Kremp, who of course is the player probably most in the hot seat, sure, Nastie has the worst overall cards, but I don't think that really tells the true picture of that Nastie, I think, has been playing at least better and more consistently than Kremp has, but, you know, it's up for debate in terms of if you were to make a move, what you would do. But Kremp, when he was on Boston, his control was like great. He was frying that mode. He dropped loads of kills. Not really been the case on this team. He actually has some of the lowest damage and kills per 10 in his role in the entire league. So that is a problem for this team. They had a pretty easy split, to be fair, online. They went 5-2. They turn up to the major. They win a series against Boston in Game 5, so congratulations, I guess. They also played Boston twice this major, and they won Game 5 both times, or at least twice during the course of the split, the qualifiers and the major. So you look at a 10-5 search record, but you think, well, 4 of those were against Boston, I think. So I don't know if that really counts. Nonetheless, there were rumours these guys were going to make changes, but there's been some further reaction to JCap here that may no longer be the case. And also I look at it and I think, well, if you're going to swap out Kremp for somebody, is it really clear it's going to improve the team? But as far as I'm concerned, you've got to try and keep Dan Ghosty happy, right? Because Ghosty's your best player. You do not want him to leave the team at the end of the offseason because this entire year has been a rebuild for Thieves. The whole plan was find pieces that are going to be able to form a championship winning roster in the future. JoeDeceives, honestly, I think has very impressed me. I think he could potentially be part of that future as well because, sure, he might not be a superstar SMG, but he's improving, I think, over time and is getting better and better. And he's still very new to the league, really. I mean, still a very young player, only came in last year on the Gorillas. And Ghosty obviously is a centerpiece of a potential winning roster. So, you know, they need to make sure that Ghosty is happy, because if he isn't, he might leave, and I don't think you want that. These are the Ravens, by the way, and it's fascinating that Fellow used to be considered an onliner back in the day. Like, he was considered to be not as good online as online, but for some reason this year it's completely a different story, and he's been struggling big time online, goes to LAN and absolutely fries. Now, this Ravens team has a very tough split in the Major 3 qualifiers, or Major 4 qualifiers, sorry, the final set of the year. They play a grueler. I think they play like Toronto, OpTic and New York all back to back. So they've got a tough run in there. if they can get over, I think they play Gorillas first, Toronto, OpTic, New York, I think they all play back to back to back after they play Gorillas. That ain't an easy run. Their hardpoint hasn't been so good, but hopefully this time they're all together at their penthouse facility, whatever, the whole time, because last stage, for some reason, they weren't always there the whole time. They were kind of mix and matching it, and they go to the major. Top 8 is not the end of the world, but it's not necessarily going to be enough. That loss to Seattle could potentially come back to haunt them. These are the Vegas cards as well. Despite Geo's incredible kills per 10 in the hardpoints, Johnny's only played a couple of series. We do have the Asim Burger card here. So yeah, the Burger King crown has, it seems, officially been passed over to Asim, and he's even got the Burger King uniform on and everything. So, you know, that was a rough one. Obviously, he was subbed out of the team. Their record was bad. Top 12 in the end of the major. Will they make the World Championship? Doug Levy put this together on chances to make the World Championship. Now, this is based on ELO rating. This is based on schedule from now to the end of the season. And okay, it's not super clear what it's trying to say, but effectively, this is percentage chance to make champs if a team gets to a certain number of points. So, you know, and also considering their record and considering tiebreaker scenarios or whatever, whether that would be the case. So, you know, if Thieves get to 160, they should qualify with 80% likelihood, whereas other teams, if they get to 160, might not be quite as high based on where they presently are and other factors such as that. The real thing that matters here is this kind of analysis on what is the cut line, right? So how many points do you need to make the World Championship based on the current standings, based on where the teams currently are? So back in March, his theory was that, you know, 150 points would be enough to get you there with over 50% likelihood, 160 would nearly guarantee it, and 170 basically would. Now, those numbers aren't too dissimilar as of today, actually, but we see the following, that 150 is probably only going to give you a 31% chance to make the World Championship. That's how tight it is. That's probably how many teams will end the year on roughly 150 points, that you're going to need more. If you get to 160, that should get you in, and 170 will almost guarantee it, based on the way things look. So these are the standings, and, you know, Doug's usually pretty good, obviously, at crunching the numbers here. So this is how things look. Obviously, you know, the top 4 teams have made it. Nobody else has officially made it yet. So we're talking like, you know, 160, probably what you need. So Boston need to win all 7 series to get to 120. Then they need to get at least a top 4. So, yeah, if Boston goes 7-0 in the qualifiers and they get top 4, top 3 at the major, they probably will still make the World Championship. But that ain't happening, is it? Let's be honest. So Miami and Surge, they're the furthest advanced. They're on 130. They need 40 more points, roughly. If you get to 170, that probably will be enough. Like, almost certainly that will be enough. So either 4 wins online, which is possible, or 3 wins online and a win at the LAN, something like that will be enough for those teams. Los Angeles Thieves at 125. This could work either way for you, because when you've got 5 points on the board, you know, either that's going to be qualifying by 5 points or not. Now, you get 5 points, you get 15 points for placing 8th. So lots of other teams will probably place, you know, a couple of teams will place 8th at the upcoming major, which will mean that somebody else gets, you know, another 15 points to add on. So you get this kind of 5-point swing that could potentially happen as well. But Ravens are still there for now. Rocket, Legion, Gorillas, Breach goes down from there. So to me, I look at Gorillas, I think they're almost certainly chalked. I think the Rocket have to make a move if they want to improve and make it personally. Vegas may stick it out, but I'm not convinced they're going to make it. So, you know, to me, there's probably a couple of teams here. I think Miami will almost certainly make it now. Like, I look at their schedule, it's pretty straightforward. They're going to be pretty good online. I think they will get to 170 and do enough. But let's talk about this XDefiant stuff, right? Because we've talked about this game for a long time now. Clay was actually on the game playing a tournament last night. Basically, all the pros, by the way, have been on the game. They got back from the major. They were like, all right, I'm playing MW3 again. Like, we're just going to hop on XDefiant now for a few days. That's what we have been seeing. And it's been good fun to watch. The game, like, it's the same game that came out before and then was never actually officially revealed. And we talked about why it was not released, all these other problems they had to work through. And, like, I haven't played the game in a long time, since one of the very first betas. And I am not going to lie, I enjoyed it in the first betas. I thought it was great. So I honestly don't know how much has changed since then. I haven't obviously got the chance to play the game yet since it's been released. So, you know, I've been here on my laptop still in Toronto for the next couple of days after the major. It's been a good time. But, you know, a lot of pro players have got mixed opinions. I feel the community is very split on this, actually, between whether they think the game is any good or whether they think it's kind of terrible. Scott's been playing a lot of it, drops 105, and you know, this is just Jake Hell's thoughts having played it on the gunplay, the TTK. Obviously, there's talk about the movement mechanics, which is probably the main thing. But look, this was my feeling when I played the game a long time ago, that I was just having fun on the game generally. Now, there is talk about weapon leveling is like really slow, which I think it's going to take like 100 hours to level up one gun. I'm like, is that some sort of typo? Like, are we serious that you've put that in properly? And, you know, some sort of gentleman's agreement discussion. Interesting analysis, really. But we did see some talk here from Dashy on at the state of the game, because he's obviously hopped on the title. Now, aBeZy is a chief designer, or whatever you want to say, product lead on this game. He's been talking about it for a rather long time at this point, how it's, you know, designed with competitive in mind and some of these other features. But some of these players, especially Dashy, not so happy with the movement mechanics in the game.
Like, look at that. Do y'all see that? What is that, man? Like,
What am I playing? Yeah, Leonard might be ass.
Oh, this might be a sweaty lobby.
do y'all see that? Like, why does it feel like there's somebody always pulling? Like, dude, this game is horrible.
It's clunky, bro.
This shit is ass, right?
How do I change this shit, bro? But can you even?
Can't even mantle that. Oh yeah, these guys are like, they dropped the game for the. This game was dropped for the 90s. Michael Jordan. This is a Michael Jordan video game.
Alright, lock in, lock in.
So if you guys have got the chance to play XDefiant yet, or at least watch some of the gameplay, what are your thoughts as it stands? Because it's clearly molded on kind of what COD used to be, used to have, some of these other things. That's their intention with the title, and they've designed it from the ground up with that in mind. I think they've done a pretty good job overall. Okay, will there be things that I would change? Sure. Is it as bad as, you know, Dashy implies, you know, the game's ass, the game's horrible, all this stuff? Like, I don't really think so. But of course, it's always going to be personal preference, right? I certainly know that some players really like it, and even former COD players as well. I know that Zero's been having a good time with it. Obviously, here's Trey and Bance today, and Bance obviously recently, at the most recent event in Toronto, was on that Team War team that didn't do especially well. I think they were at top 12 in the ends in challenges. So there has been talk about when and whether an XDefiant Pro League is going to be a thing. I'm pretty certain it will be, right? Because the game has been designed with competitive in mind. They must be thinking about it. Ubisoft, the same people that have the Rainbow Six stuff going on. So they are going to do something from a competitive scene perspective. What that looks like, I don't know. What the format's going to be. What teams might get involved is another big question, actually, right? Because, I mean, Rensports, just a completely off-topic game, but Rensports was like a sim racing game that was designed for competitive in mind from the ground up. The one that Crimsix played when he went to FaZe and sim raced for a while before. Now he's doing it, of course, in real life. That game, like, I don't know how many big esports organizations got involved in that, but like FaZe, Complexity, like G2, TSM, I don't even know if those all, but you know, orgs of that caliber were like all getting involved in that game. So I wonder if something similar could happen here with XDefiant as well, if there's a lot of traction behind it. And Boston saying someone cooked here to XDefiant to aBeZy was maybe not relevant at all, but I thought it was interesting just because Boston have Oxygen Esports, right? That's like their non-Boston esports brands. So would I be surprised if Oxygen Esports fielded a roster in XDefiant? Absolutely not at all. And you may see players, you know, Zero's made it public that he wants to return to competing, but in XDefiant and trying to absolutely run that league up, as potentially was the case with some former Counter-Strike players that went to Valorant when that game first came out. So there's lots of interest here, and I'm sure we are going to see other COD pros go to XDefiant if there is a proper circuit. Whether the game is going to take off, because it might not be very good, that's another question entirely, but very much interested in your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.